Or if you're not home already.
Hang
Now,
around.
this isn't conservation or select board meetings. All right, Kat, sorry, you're gonna have to hop down for a while. All right, all right, all right, so welcome, folks. It's about 5:31. Gonna call the Building Design Committee meeting for November 3rd to order. We have a bunch of folks on here. Folks who are not on here and want to watch this can go to the town YouTube channel and tune in at another time and watch this amazing Zoom meeting. All right, here we go, type of thing. Okay, so let's see, since we do have the quorum going, Brian, thank you again for the minutes. You weren't supposed to be the official guy to do it every time, but I appreciate you stepping up each time and throwing that in there. Appreciate that. Did everybody get a chance to look at the minutes that Brian presented for last week?
They're nicely done, Brian. Short and to the point.
All right. So I'll
make a
entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the meeting minutes.
I'll second.
Excellent. All right. So a motion from Tony, second from Greg. In favor, let's go around. Tony,
Aye.
Greg,
Aye.
Brian,
Aye.
Tom,
Aye.
Laura,
Yes.
Matt,
Aye.
and Chris,
Aye.
and an aye from me. Okay, unanimously how much we enjoy those. Thank you again, sir. All right. So I guess I'll move on to public comment. Any public comment from the folks of the committee?
I just wanted to make everybody aware, one of the warrant items has a presentation by this committee, and I don't know if that's something we're gonna do or we're ready to do for the November meeting.
When is the November meeting?
November
18th.
8th.
Well, if you
18th.
guys wanted to do it, you're on your own. So I say we probably, I would look at it as I would not want to do something in November.
Yeah. I've
anybody
got
else
about
have a thought?
15. I've got about 3 public hearings in various towns in central Massachusetts that night, so I'm not going to be there.
Other
Unfortunately.
than saying we're still working on it and we've made some progress, I don't think we're ready to, we don't have enough, we're not ready to say anything yet that would, be interesting to people other than ourselves.
Agree, and I feel like anything we present could only start at this point creating confusion. It's not worth it right now. I think some of the things that we've talked about and other committees and other groups, what's being done, all tying it together will make a much stronger unit in town versus individual groups.
At some point, I think we should talk to town meeting about options and directions, but I think we just don't have enough right now to lay out clear options.
Correct. I'll look at it as by, May town meeting, we'd be ready to present and have something with an option with something really funky for folks at that point. And that would be after having some public hearings and things like that. Tony, is the master plan guys presenting at town meeting?
We are. Kim Duffy, the chair, is gonna present them on the master plan.
Okay. All right. I'll talk to Kim about it too. So, I figured we'll let the master plan sink in to folks, and I don't want to confuse things. The master plan is really, I think, important, especially as we go forward as well. So I think, let's not confuse things and let's wait and have some public discussions first, because those are the folks at town meeting we care most about anyhow. All right, so I'm going to move on to now one of our agenda items was to see about travel through Town Hall and Ritter Building. Did anybody here get a chance to go through last week? All right. I guess I'm going to start with Matt. And Matt, if you want to just express your thoughts and what things you saw, things you might want to chat about.
Oh, that's a good question. Golly. I I am left, I mean, overall, it's just good to see the innards of Town Hall and see the old timbers and how well put together the building is for its age. I have a great photo of the juxtaposition of old, century and a half old timbers with no metal holding them together. And then in the background is the computer workings and batteries for the 5G tower on the top of Town Hall.
Okay,
So,
yes.
but no, we got some good feedback, including from the town manager, just to talk more about some of those work processes and see the layout now and how things might be different. I am personally, I remain concerned about the idea of the first floor of Town Hall being that big public meeting space due to ceiling height. And how that would work, but I'm very open. I would love to be incorrect on that. I think it could make the area not feel open enough for a large meeting space. I'll let others speak though, overall. And Ritter, again, we saw some of the limitations of the space as well as thinking about how we might want to preserve. There's a lot of beautiful architecture in Ritter in the original building, less so the annex, and how we might preserve some of that finish work and everything. I think will be a discussion to have in the long run, not so much with initial layout, but with architects and everything.
Okay, excellent. Excellent. Thank you. Thanks, Matt. Anybody else like to step up? All right, go ahead, Brian.
Wait,
No, I'm gonna
Brian,
make you
I'm
wait,
sorry.
Tony.
Go ahead, Brian.
Yeah, so I started at the Ritter. I think the ADA at the entryway, I think that's needed, and I think that's doable. I think we're like even the architect that designed that. I think that's going to be important. I think getting a full elevator in the Ritter too, wherever makes the most sense. But getting a real elevator, just looking at what they had there, it doesn't make sense to have that there if it's going to be the main building for the whole town. It was really nice. I think they made some nice renovations. Just even a good coat of paint that does some good wonders. And I think we can keep working on that kind of stuff of just making it better with a coat of paint, replacing some wood, whatever. And beautiful architecture upstairs. We saw the fireplace in one of the offices. It has so much potential to look really nice and a good, comfortable place. But I think it's going to be the spacing. Can we get enough space or expand or add another addition to the side, whatever, to get everyone in there under that one roof? And I think that's the important part. But renovating it and making it look nice. The town hall, it needs some work, but it's got a lot of potential there too. I think the downstairs, I was surprised how low the ceilings were. I think that's going to be the challenge too, of just being downstairs, if that's really going to work for, say, the select board and meeting rooms down there. If we're going to put the pack upstairs, I think that would be great if that can work. I still don't see the vision yet, but I think hopefully there's some good vision for the first floor to improve that. And walking through the basement, it is an old basement, but I think it's fine. Talking about the basement, it seemed like it was going to be doable to work that. And I'm still a little concerned about the first floor, but I think it's still got some potential too.
All right, I'm sorry, just Chris, Mr. Ruth, the height of the ceilings on the first floor of Ritter, of Town Hall, what would you estimate those?
They probably look like 8 or 9s. To be honest, I haven't poked my head up into the ceiling to see how much headroom we actually have, though. I can take a look at that.
Right, they're suspended ceilings, so you don't know if there's 3 feet above it, or I tried to look around and different rooms were different heights, so I don't know. Who knows? I guess have somebody take a little peek and see.
The answer to the ceiling height is what you see when you're walking up or down the steps to the second
Yeah.
floor.
That's what I was gonna say,
And-
yeah.
And I would guess that the bottom of the rafter that forms that opening is probably at least 10 feet above finished floor, maybe more.
Okay.
So I don't think when you walk through, you get a feel for multiple ceiling heights. But I think that if you look at where the stringer is in the stairwell, that sets, where the floor is for the second floor, and it's well above the first floor. I don't think that, bringing the select board downstairs would be a problem. And once again, if we're going to do this project at Town Hall, there's going to be a massive amount of demolition, and all this stuff is going to become, revealed as a result of that.
Understand.
I
I
think the
just
next
was
time I
just
go to
curious.
Town Hall, I'm going to take my tape and measure what that stringer is in the stairwell, because that's really where the bottom of the second floor is.
Right. Understand, Tom. We might lose a little bit if we have to sister things up and things like that, just to strengthen the second floor and get things out of it. But it's sounding like it's not it's sounding like it's not an 8-foot ceiling. Let's put that, or 7
It's
foot,
not.
eight. It's sounding like it's more than an 8-foot ceiling. Okay, cool.
Some of the
Brian,
floors-
other comments, Brian? I didn't mean to shut you there.
No, that was it.
Okay. All right. Anybody else had a chance?
Some of those floors are different heights too. Just, I
I'm
had
sorry,
noticed.
Laura? Was that?
Some of
Was
those
that you?
floors were different heights as well. When you walk in Town Hall, some of the floors went up a step in some of the rooms. And I couldn't figure out from the basement what was going on there.
I think a lot of that is just people have changed things over the years to the building settling. So I think if we're gonna gut it, like, which I think we'd have to, we could reframe and level the whole thing out when we do it.
Okay. Yeah. I was really enamored with Ritter. I think the coat of paint on the inside did a whole lot of work. Thank you to whoever picked colors for that, because it's a really nice cohesive look. But it needs more. I think the elevation in Ritter is going to be a real pain in the butt as far as making it ADA accessible, and there isn't really space to put in a lot of ramps, hence that giant hallway from the last iteration. So I don't know what the solution to that is, because we definitely need something more ADA accessible at Ritter. Town Hall, same thing. I'm starting to wonder if the entire upstairs at Town Hall, if that's a lot of space per pack. It's a pretty big space. So I'm not sure if there's other things we can do there, like if we can put the school department on the bottom floor of Town Hall, and then half pack, half meeting room upstairs. But that's it.
Okay, excellent. All right. All right. Anybody else have a chance that would like to?
Oh,
Dave, I think that, oh, I'm sorry, Matt, go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say, Mr. Chair, if I may, I left Town Hall with one more concern that I believe is fine, but I just want to voice it. Tony and I talked about it a little when we're looking at the Town Hall basement. I'm always nervous, and again, if we have professionals saying it's fine, it's fine. But I'm always nervous about a fieldstone foundation that's had a waterproof layer applied to it. Because in my very limited understanding from owning a house with fieldstone foundation, and I know that's the danger level of knowledge, right? That waterproofing fieldstone can lead to much longer term issues. And if it's been waterproof 50 years, maybe it's fine. But that's without that foundation having the ability to breathe, I'm a little concerned. Not that that couldn't be fixed with jacks and rebuilding or whatever as need be, but just another concern point,
Okay.
but minor.
Okay. All right, cool. All right, excellent, excellent. Any thoughts from anybody else?
Me.
Did you guys tour the Brooks house?
We did that earlier. We toured the Brooks
Okay.
house. And basically, we talked a little bit about it last week, but the fact is the Brooks house, the house itself is is in decent shape.
Mhm.
It's, no, does it meet any standards as far as width of staircases and all that other wonderful stuff? No, not really, but it it's a decent building that I don't think should not take somebody else an arm and a leg to fix up and do something with, if that was the case. But like I say, I think this group is going to struggle to find and I don't want it to be our charter to find a use for that building.
It's a
It,
real
it
waste.
shouldn't
Sounds
be.
good to me.
Yeah.
I
I
just
mean,
wondered
if
if,
it,
Big.
to me,
I
if
haven't been
we
in it
could
in a
sell
long
it as a
time.
house, it would be easier to sell because there's more people looking for homes than there are commercial space. Commercial space, there's plenty of vacant space on 2A, retail and office. So it's not like we're dying for commercial space, but residential, if you could figure out a way to get a driveway in there and all that, I'm sure you could find somebody to buy it. And then put it back on the tax roll. Maybe we be we put in the deed that the town has the right of first refusal or something like that. So 20 years from now, we wanted to buy it back, yeah, that kind of thing. But to me, that would be the easiest route to go because I don't think the town has any need for it other than, some made up thing that we could, force feed it into. And I'm a little concerned about it as a commercial space because it's a house. It's not it wasn't built for commercial. It's, I don't know, just and the use would be very limited, and I think it would be much easier to sell it as residential if we could.
Yeah, I have
I-
concerns that we would even be able to sell it too. Just talking to Chris Ruth too during the tour, it was pretty eye-opening.
I think we sold it as housing, there would be a market for that, but we'd have to create some kind of very specific overlay district for right there, which could be problematic, but it just seems like a giant waste of space right now. But I agree with Tom that I don't see it commercially. I don't see a huge demand for commercial space like that because you look at the Dragonfly Corner House, 3 Lancaster Ave, and they've had a for lease sign out front since the building was completed a couple of years ago. They've had a for lease sign out, so that's not even at full occupancy. So I'm concerned about the commercial viability of anything in that space, and kind of like Tom said, we'd have to force it. We'd have to find a use for it, and that doesn't seem like a problem that we should be solving.
Whenever there's a discussion about selling that property, I really to chime in that I would love to get rid of the building because I don't personally see value in the building of the Brooks house. But I think selling that property is a huge mistake for the town in the long term. It completes that campus, that property that we own that right now is the majority of our schools, TC Passios and the library all in one contiguous unit. And I'm not just thinking about us now, I'm thinking about us in 50 years when, again, the
You froze up, Matt.
You froze at such a good
Mr.
time
Chair,
too.
Can I recommend that it's not on our scope and that we not waste a lot of time talking about the Brooks house?
Yeah,
I think
sorry
that
I
we-
brought it up.
Yeah.
I thought I
Yeah.
No,
thought you
All
guys
right,
were
we'll blame it all
touring.
on Greg, but no
I
problem.
gotta
Yeah,
say
it's my
though, that I
fault.
think, I really think if we're gonna get town projects passed, we gotta have a plan for what's gonna happen, because the Brooks house thing just keeps getting ignored by everyone, and it's just sitting there empty, and it's a waste right now. In an ideal world, with, unlimited funds and silly ideas, I would turn it into apartments rentable to town employees. Housing for town employees, but that's not, that is outside of our scope, but
I think that maybe one of the things that we could recommend is that there be a separate committee established to look at both Brooks House and 925 Mass Avenue. Those are two parcels that, you know, there's no town function. And I don't think it's within our charge to deal with that. I do agree with you, Laura, that it has to be addressed, but I think that's something that, you know, like, who knows what it could be? Could it be retail? Could it be commercial? Could it be housing? Those things all need to be explored, I think, with some intense focus by a separate committee. That may be something that we recommend to the select board, is to establish like you know, maybe as a subset of the Economic Development Committee, to figure out, you know, uses, non-town use of both Brooks House and 925 Mass Avenue, you know. But I don't want to spend a lot more time talking about the Brooks House. We got
Is
two
925
buildings we
the
got to
gas
really
station?
worry about.
Is 925 the gas station?
Yeah.
Okay, so let me jump into something then. I'm gonna share a screen. Let me do this and share. Okay, what I've done is I've pulled up the Taylor and Burns, their final report. Okay, I'm gonna go through things a little bit with you guys. I mean, I can, well, here, let me do it this way. First of all, I'll do it. Let me move this so I can get it out of the way a little bit. Okay, so oh, hold on. All right, this is the way the town hall looks today when you walk in. You walk in here, I don't know if you can see a cursor, but you walk in, you have the assessors here, town clerk in the back, town vault. You come down the hallway and there's the treasurer and accounting departments over there in the background and things of that sort. Okay. When Taylor and Burns did it and did their proposal on cost, this is what they proposed for the first floor of town hall. So they had, you walked in, there was a conference room, an office, some storage would have been for, I assume, you know, if you wanted chairs, tables. You had a large conference room, 730 square foot conference room over here, and then a third conference room where the assessor's office is. They put in for the elevator, they put in, you know, more storage, the two separate ADA compliant restrooms and things of that sort. My personal feeling is I don't need to change it that much from what I'm seeing right now. The only thing I might do is I would probably look at maybe this conference room changes a little bit, and, you know, because one of this offices could be Veterans Affair or something like that, and the storage room, you know, Veterans Affair with a meeting room for Veterans Affair right in here in this general
Hey,
area.
Dave, I
Storage.
think we need to keep Veterans Affairs away from Town Hall. There's no parking, most of them are ADA, and they're very, very loud.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. Spoken from personal experience, about the loud part, not the
Yeah.
other part.
Yes, it's a good thing I've been through all the HIPAA training because I hear everything.
Okay. All right. All right. So, you know, office A, who knows? You know, I still could see it as an office. Maybe it's a floating, maybe, you know, Chris, maybe yourself, or I don't, you know, or it's, I don't know if we have to still do something for our state rep or something like that. But, you know, I was looking at this as not really being much different. Anybody's thoughts or comments?
I think the only concern would be if say the select board is meeting in the first floor, does that conference room A need to be bigger?
So Brian, the idea is that conference room A and B, this wall moves. The wall gets to be stored away into this little cubby hole here. And you can have this large conference room A, conference room B will be a joint conference room. However, the other idea is that if you guys knew there was a meeting that required that many people, we moved it to, maybe it's something we have in a different building or a different location. If you think about in your years as on the select board, how many meetings you had more than 15, 20 people there? You're
Yeah,
probably
that's
not
fair.
taking off the second glove.
Thanks.
No problem. So anyway, that was the thought. And the hall doesn't have to be this way. The configuration can be different, but this was just, I'm just showing a configuration that looked like it fairly worked type of thing, in a way. If I go upstairs and any other thoughts on this first floor?
I think it's got, first of all, I don't like hardly anything that Taylor and Burns did because they weren't very, I think they just absolutely positively weren't very good at this project. But I think that one of the biggest issues is everybody has said we don't want a chairlift in Town Hall or Ritter. So I think the first thing you got to do is when you're looking at layout is where's the best place to put a new elevator shaft? Is it, in the front of the building? Is it in the back of the building? Is it outside the existing footprint? I think that's like the number one issue that needs to get decided before you can start divvying up, space on the first floor and the second floor. I mean, personally, I think that the elevator ought to be as close to the front of the building as it can be, because the reason why you're putting an elevator in there is to make it easier for people that are handicapped to get places. And if you bury the elevator in the back of the first floor, now that requires them to, to travel to the back. I mean, I think that in my mind is the first thing that we should decide.
Okay, so if the elevator was in part of Office A, and part of Office A with the door opening to the breezeway, it would work better. In your thoughts, it would work better.
Yeah, the other wild idea that I had was to take the storage, which is the vault, the current town clerk vault,
Yes.
and modify that. I'm not sure what the footprint is, and I don't believe the dimensions are on these drawings, but it's like, could you start with that as your elevator shaft? And then you in essence, what we would be doing is keeping the square footage at the ground level the same, but then adding some square footage up to the second floor. But it's in the right spot, It's up front.
Understand. And
It's probably
and
gonna be,
understand. So as I said, guys, I'm not looking, my thing is I'm just looking at this as this was a concept. I want to start, I'm starting to try to
Yeah.
move us into different concepts and different ideas, different things. And just to get us start thinking about whether things could work or not, type of thing. Look, it could be that this wall between conference room A and conference room B is shifted way over to the corner, and conference room A is the first conference room when you walk in, and it would, who knows? We can, there's other ways of configuring, of skinning the cat, but it's just a matter of, does this give us, and maybe there's a conference room D in a picture if we needed it. But it's just, to me, it gives some nice size meeting rooms in this picture, nice size meeting rooms for different size groups. If I go upstairs to the second floor, this is what they had and what they did. Understand, this is, once again, we're talking about what they did. They had the hearing room. So here they had the hearing room that's there now, minus the stage, but the hearing room that's there now is 1,350 square feet. Brian, to your comment earlier, if I added my 730 and my 447 together, I'm at like 1,200 square feet type of thing. So not that much different, but it is different. I'm definitely in that mode. This was, they have the office, we have the storage, we have the PAC, the studio for PAC. What is that other one? Oh, cable access control, cable access operations. So it is what it is. This is the second floor, okay? If I move over to Ritter today, it gets a little bit more confusing. Oh, hold on, wrong direction, sorry. Okay, so here's Ritter today. Lower floor. I'm assuming lower floor is down with down, you know, Chris is down here, Chris Ruth down here. Veterans Affair is right here. Am I right with this one?
Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah, this is lower
conference
floor,
room,
yeah.
Yep.
kitchen. What is this? What is this now?
Mechanical.
Mechanicals, there's 2 boilers in there.
2 boilers are there? Okay, okay. All right. And then
So
there's,
the
you know, like I
important
say,
thing to remember too downstairs in Ritter is a lot of these walls are load bearing.
okay,
So,
Okay.
you know, any reorganizing, just gonna have to take that into account.
okay. So I mean, literally, they could, if they just stay as offices and just get reconfigured, we're okay in a way. You know, I have a conference room here. So this is the lower floor, lower
Can
level.
can I ask a question about the load bearing wall part?
Sure.
Is it load bearing? Is it load bearing to the structure above based on where the walls above it are? So if we reconfigure walls above it, we would also have to reconfigure walls below?
The
Or-
walls above it, if you remember when you walked around there, most of those
Yeah.
walls don't go to the ceiling. And 2 or 3 building inspectors ago, he actually put all that in himself. So most of those walls can be just knocked down and moved. Like if they don't go all the way up, they're irrelevant. I think there's 2 main walls upstairs that do go all the way up that we'd have to look at.
Okay, so it's mostly the weight of the floor and everything else. And we could reconfigure upstairs without having to reconfigure down, probably.
Yeah, and we could reconfigure down. It's just we have to keep in mind that the more you reconfigure this, we're adding some structural costs there.
I mean, downstairs works.
Chris, what is the floor structure? Is it reinforced concrete? Is it steel? Do you know?
Whether it's reinforced, I couldn't tell you, but I believe everything's concrete floors.
Okay, that's what I was thinking.
You mean the first floor, Tony, or the basement?
First floor.
That's probably just wood, right? It's probably just wood framed.
I don't know.
It-
That's
it's-
why I asked
there's-
the question.
No, no,
There's
no,
definitely
Tony,
some wood
Tony, we're
framing.
gonna call that the lower level. The lower level is concrete. The first
Yeah.
floor is wood.
Yeah, the lower level is
think
concrete.
so.
The addition's definitely concrete. The second floor, it doesn't feel like a wood floor when you're walking on it. It feels solid and smooth.
Yeah,
Okay.
I wouldn't be
Concrete. Maybe it is
surprised.
a concrete deck. I wouldn't have, I just assumed it was framed. But you
I
can-
don't, that's the
Good
reason,
question.
that's a good question for us to verify.
Yeah.
Because it will have an impact, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I'll try and pull up a corner carpet tomorrow and take a look what's in there.
Okay, and Chris, if I look at it, is it mostly the thicker walls in this picture that are load bearing? Or do you think some of the inner ones, the thinner ones in the inside? will
I
load bear?
think it's mostly the thicker ones because those are masonry walls.
Right,
Yeah, I think those are probably the ones that are really load bearing. Because if you see in the top of this, there's 2 little boxes that are shown.
Yeah.
Those are actually columns.
okay.
Hmm.
Okay. Oh, yeah, because that would be the outside wall of the building. Yes, okay.
Is that drop ceiling in there downstairs, Chris?
I
Can't
wish
remember.
it was. It's hard ceilings and they're probably hot.
Okay, yeah. Huh.
All right, so that's the lower level. This is the, we're calling it the ground floor, but this is the addition. Let me make it a little smaller so it fits on the screen. So this is the addition. So this is the, you know, the planning board meeting room. Land guy, the admin office, the 2 bathrooms, and then just that open area, the little countertop, the copy machine, and the open area. So this is the ground floor of Ritter as it stands today. Okay, remember that we have this idea of whatever it is. I think it's what, 5 steps that you have to go up, 5 steps that you have to go down to get to either levels of the other building, and there's the 5 steps to even get up to the level of this Ritter. Ceiling heights in the lower level, is it okay, Chris?
Yeah, they're actually fairly tall for being in the basement there. They're not bad at all. And I wouldn't
Okay.
say meeting room for select board, but they're pretty good.
But I mean, for offices and things like that, it's not bad.
No, it's not bad at all for offices, and I actually think the ceilings are built down more than they used to be. Because, in my office, the windows swing in and they don't open because you hit the ceiling.
Oh, that's right. Yes, yes, yes. The old wonderful dropping of the ceiling to add some pipes type of thing. Okay. All right. If I move up to the upper level, this is how we have it now. You come up, that's the there's the deputy building inspector here. I'm not sure this lower up this
That's
lower
storage.
office, is that
There's
Who's-
storage where your mouse is right now. The first office you were on was the rec director, which we currently is vacant. The office to the left of yours is Brian's, where the fireplace is.
yeah?
If you go straight up from there, that's the building admin. That is vacant until Wednesday. And then Board of Health and Conservation's the last one.
Okay.
And those thicker walls again are the load bearing ones that trace up from downstairs.
Okay. Now, guys, one of the things I'd like us to consider as we look at this thing is that this is the land use pretty much that town manager spoke about. It's the same footprint as the lower level. Right now, it is right now. The only thing we're missing out of this is the director, the land use director's office, and his admin. But other than that, you have conservation, Board of Health, building admin, and things of that sort. So just as we're throwing things out here. As we move to the second floor, we talked about the offices of with the fireplace. I would love to see that become a conference room, for when you want to really show off Lunenburg, and it would be a beautiful conference room. You have room here for the town manager, her admin, whatever you want to make here. I can see this being a common kitchen area or smaller conference room and other things. And then, what we're looking at mainly to me is I'd like to see a 2-story annex on this side, on the opposite side of the present annex, that matches the floor plan, that matches the heights of the floors in the present Ritter, built on the other side, in the green on the other side.
Dave, if you do that, you create a problem with access because of the 65 edition. And that was the fundamental mistake that Taylor and Burns never addressed as an architect. And it was why we had an elevator in the new building in the annex and a EULA where the current EULA is.
So Tony, I am eliminating the 1960s building completely.
Well, let me go back to what I was saying. We could do that, but then you have to create all new space to replace the 65 edition. And what I'd love to see us explore with professional help is how to create an access using the 65 edition and maybe making the 65 addition, instead of a one-story structure, a two-story structure. And what's interesting about the annex is that it has good, strong, stout walls that are very high. You know, if you look at the ceiling height in the addition, it's probably 12 feet, if not more, you know, which is one of the contributing factors to why poor Marjorie and all the other assistants who have been in that space are cold because we replaced the baseboard heating with mini splits that are at the top of a 12-foot high wall. You know, if you tear down the addition, you could have a single elevator, you know, to the south of the Ritter building, but you don't know what's over there. Whereas if we concentrated on keeping the addition, we know exactly what's on the addition side. You know, you could do, I think, do so much more by looking at how do you make the building completely accessible in one spot, starting with the 65 edition. Now,
So-
you know, this is something that I tried to make this point when we were dealing with Taylor and Burns. I'm not a proponent of saving the edition for any historic reason. I just look at the 65 edition as a place to bring this multi-level facility up to ADA compliance, easiest, quickest, and the cheapest way to go.
But
Greg,
so
you're a civil engineer. What do you think of that idea?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think it has merit. So correct me if I'm wrong here, Tony, you're saying, if I'm understanding you correctly, um, doing what we need to do for the building modification in the footprint, or maybe not the exact footprint, but in the area of the 65 edition. So maybe that needs to be 2 stories, but we do it on that side. That's what you're saying?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
I
yeah,
mean,
yeah.
I completely understand what Tony's saying with the, and sorry to butt in, Dave, but the vice chair did call on me.
no. Hey, come on, guys. You know these meetings as a group, as a bunch of guys getting, a bunch of folks getting together. That's it.
Yeah, no, that's fine. I think what Tony said about the elevator. I mean, I've been a proponent that we should do a bona fide elevator. You know, right from the start. I think that the days of lifts in these buildings should be done. And
Agree.
so what Tony's saying does make that you can do a multi-stop elevator. You know, you can handle that split level better. You know, condition. If you put the building over there without having to do 2 separate lifts. You know, I I think, and this is another thing that Tony has said in previous meetings. We really need to get an idea of what the square footage, you know, what we're looking at for square footage. I think, because I think the way you're laying it out there, Dave, when you were going through and showing, you know, showing the various floors, I think is a very good exercise. But I think for me, I'm just, well, first of all, I'm keenly aware that these plans that we have here in front of us don't have any dimensions on them. So I'm just like, I have no idea what square footage we're talking about. I mean, I can visualize the building and I'm thinking to myself, oh man, that space is small. Like I've gone into Lisa Normanden's office, but it's not Lisa Normanden's office anymore, but it'll be ever Lisa's as far as I'm concerned. And it's like a hallway. You know, Brian has a nice size office, but I don't know. I feel like we need to start updating our space spreadsheet, if you will, so that we can really start to dial this in, because, you know, how big does the addition need to be? You know, I think that makes a difference, with where it can go. But to answer Tony's question, I agree. I think that we need to explore, um, uh, either utilizing the 65 edition or putting a new edition in its place, because it's square footage that we have, you know, and I think we owe it to ourselves and the town to at least explore it. Having said that, the reason why I said I think we should get we should move, to get our arms around the actual square footage that we need, because, Dave, you might be right. Maybe we need more. I don't know. Maybe we need to do it. Maybe when we start looking at, the first and second floors of the existing Ritter and the program that we want to put in there, we're not going to have enough space. I don't know. That could be the case.
Well,
Can
here's the two things I have, guys. One is that based on what we're seeing as the plan, as going back, way back when, and things of that sort, we didn't need that much space added to the Ritter to make it for town offices. Okay, it needed to be reconfigured because as some of the walls are just there, or business is done differently today than it was done 20 years ago. The other side, but let me go back one step on the annex. My only concern on the annex is that I'm looking to eliminate steps to get into the annex and eliminate the stupid transition of floors from the annex to the Ritter. If the annex as it sits today, that floor can be altered in height, and we keep the building, I'm all for it. But if I have to, break, that floor that sits today needs to go. And it needs to be equal to what the Ritter is today in both heights, on both floor heights, right now.
Tony, you think you can, I haven't really looked at that. Do you think that you could make the grades work? I'm assuming you mean put a basement in. So if we were to, just hypothetically, we take the annex off and we reconstruct it so that the basement matches, so we have a basement in it matching the existing basement. Is that what
So
you're
the
talking about,
first
Tony?
floor,
What
if the
what
first
I've been
floor is
saying,
at the
Greg, is you take,
level.
you know where the step is, where the steps are, from the
Going into the
steps
building.
over towards the property line that's to the east, and you cut that part of the building out. You cut out the steps that go up, and you cut out to the point where the steps go down and then go up. You get rid of all of that. You have a major demolition so that when you basically walk,
All of what's on the screen, you take off basically what's on the screen here.
yes.
Okay.
Yeah, you
Yep,
keep,
I'm with you. Okay.
yeah, you keep it, so like where the bathrooms are,
Yeah.
that might be where the elevator is, and where the steps and the double doors, that may become an at the same grade as the lower level
Okay, that's what I was asking. Okay.
into the
Yeah.
building. Because now
Yeah.
here's one of the biggest issues, Dave, why I want to stay on this side versus going to the southern side of the building for the annex. Everything that you do over there requires an excavation below grade, whereas we know what the conditions are right now at the entry level, like where the parking lot is. There's no digging that has to be done to get to that level. You could be at that level just by removing foundation walls to get into the lower level of the Ritter building. And then your elevator
That's what you're
becomes
saying.
something that has multiple stops and a door that faces, and you have an elevator that has doors on both sides. Now, I think that this is something
That's what you're
that's so this is complex. And I don't want to say, yeah, we can absolutely do this without really taking some time to explore this option. But I think it's absolutely positively the way to go if we really want to do this with an eye on how much it's going to cost. We start building an annex on the other side of Ritter. Who knows what we're going to run into over there? Where I think that the conditions that exist on the north side of Ritter, we know what those are.
I think the other thing we need to remember, guys, is we need to pick either the lower level or the upper level that we want to be level. Any new building, any new thing that we're going to attach to it, the height from the basement to the first floor is never going to match. So
That's
we're either going to have
exactly
a ramp,
right. Yeah,
we're going to have a ramp in the basement or on the first floor.
yes, absolutely.
That's true.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I feel like the 1960s annex right now locks us into this 3-level multi-tiered thing where you're going up, what is that, 3 stairs to go into the building, and then you'd have to go down 5 steps to get to the underside, whereas if we did something different with that annex, like hypothetically, if we were to replace that annex with something, we would now mitigate this stupid multi-tiered level issue, and it would be a simple elevator that has a stop at the first floor and a stop at the second floor.
You still end up with a building that has 3 different levels, Laura, whether you're on the right side or the left side.
Why?
How?
Why?
Why?
Because you would want to enter the annex at grade. And you can't, which is where the addition is. The addition is at the general grade of Ritter, you know? And if you build the annex, and this is the reason why the annex had the sloping hallways, you know, and an elevator on that side, because we didn't address the fact that we still had a piece of the building at grade on the other side. But no matter what you do, if you tear down the annex that exists today and build a new annex, if you want people to walk in there from the Mass Avenue level, then you are guaranteed to continue to have a structure that's got 3 distinctly different elevations, 3 different floor levels. You don't get away from it.
What
And
is
that's the
the
reason why
rise?
I'm saying is let's use what we got, because we're not going to change it by switching it to the south side of the building.
What is the rise to get into the building? Is it 3 steps? Well, I can't, there's no.
I'm
measure.
actually,
It's-
I'm
It's
pulling up a
5,
survey.
it's 5 steps from the parking lot to the front door is 5 steps.
And then
And then
it's
how many
5 steps back down.
Back down.
To
Yeah,
to
that's
the
what I was
lower
gonna ask,
levels.
yeah.
So what I'm saying is that it's not at grade, and that we could have if we sunk down the annex magically, sunk it down those 5 steps, now we're level, and you put a second story on top, which is also level.
Yeah, well, to Chris Root's point, you might not be able to be level. You might not be able to, you might have to have a different floor to,
Yeah.
you know,
But one step up
But-
is different than the,
yeah,
how many
yeah.
feet, how many
You-
feet of ramp do you need to go 5 stairs? Is that
Yeah,
36 feet? It was,
You're
Yeah.
making it complicated, Laura. Just think about where's the best place to put an elevator to get to 3 levels.
2
Because
levels.
no matter
2
whether you have an
levels.
annex.
2
one
levels,
side or the-
Tony, no 3 levels. No
No,
3 levels.
if we
I
take
don't-
the
Dave, you
annex out of the
can't
picture,
do
it's
it.
too
You
low.
can't do the annex at grade on the south side
Why not?
Why-
because of the terrain. That's the issue.
You go up 5 steps to get into the building.
This is the reason. If you go back and look at the Taylor and Burns drawings, you still had, like when you walked off of Mass Avenue and you went into the annex, the only way you could get to the lower level was to have a ramp or use an elevator. Or to get to the upper level, you had to have a ramp
Yeah,
or an
it's true.
elevator. Is that not correct, Greg?
Yeah, that's true. So just, yeah, I have the survey pulled up here that we did. And you know, the parking lot level, you know, at the pavement level going into the current Ritter entrance from the parking lot where there's no ADA accessibility is about, I mean, I could tell you what the elevations are, but it's not gonna mean anything. It's about almost 4 feet lower. Yeah, right here. It's about 4 feet lower than where you go into the annex. Okay. And then you go back down, you know, obviously the steps back down to the basement. But to Tony's point, you go up another 5 feet to the first floor. And on the far side of the building where we had the annex before, the grades over there are like 6 or 7 feet below. They're right in the middle of the, so you have this problem, and you don't have the ability like we do on the annex side, where you could lower the grade to get in on the basement level from the parking. You can't really do that on the other side because of the way the grades are. Does that make sense to people?
Not,
So like if we put the addition on the other side, you're still gonna have this problem with access into the building on a split level type scenario,
Bear with me,
as far as I
guys.
can tell. As far as I
I'm
can tell.
I'm gonna playfully disagree.
All right.
So right now, you're damn close, okay? You have
Yeah.
the town hall, lower level is right now, they're saying -5 feet from what they were gonna do,
Well-
but they had steps to get in. So I'm looking at this thing and I'm not that far off.
So if we dug down the
On the
parking
annex
lot,
side, on the current annex side.
yeah,
Yeah,
we
Right.
dug down the
I agree.
parking lot in that area, the entrance area there, if we dug down another foot, I can't,
Yeah,
if we
yeah.
dug down another foot, now we are at the lower level, but I think
You could,
Greg's
I think
issues
you
are,
can get, I
there's-
think you could do it. I mean, you'd have to look at the grades of the parking lot, but I think it slopes down. I think you'd have enough elevation to
If
to
we-
get that to work.
I mean, I'd
that's
be
what
worried
I've been
about,
wondering.
I'd
Oh,
be
sorry,
worried
Laura.
about drainage and putting the what is essentially a basement on that floor, but I guess at this point, if there's gonna be flooding issues at Ritter, we would kind of already seen it. But if we dug down that parking lot and created a lower grade and made that the main entrance, some sort of corner thing, then we would have an annex where a new annex where the entry is at the lower level of Ritter and the upper level of the old Ritter building, that's now the second floor. And from these, it looks doable to me, but I am not a construction person. I would take Greg's word on it. But if we dug that parking lot out, or we would be entering at the lower level of Ritter.
So, well, I think the grades are probably doable. The parking lot does slope over there. I think what we're not paying attention to is this annex side. There's 6 parking spots there. And they're tight. They're awful
Yeah.
parking spots. So even if
That's
that was
true.
the main entrance, what do we do about parking?
You,
I mean,
you,
it's
you give up
town
those
hall.
parking lots. That,
Well,
that's, yeah.
Well, it'd be ADA only. That's your
Yeah.
ADA. That's your
Yeah.
Yeah,
ADA
because
parking.
town hall already does not that I want to have suboptimal parking. Yeah, those would be the handicap spots and we would have to find more parking. So that is an argument for putting it on the other side. On the other side, I would argue that grade should be at the second floor. I don't know why why didn't Taylor and Burns do that?
Because it related to how it tied in. The annex was huge.
Mhm.
Okay. And it went all the way out to Mass Ave and School Street entrance, where the School Street comes into Mass Ave. And in order to get the grades to work at that point, essentially, they tied the grades into the sidewalk right there. And so when you work that backwards, it comes in at midship, if you will, mid story.
Is it, Craig,
Yeah.
is it better to raise up or lower down for,
Well, it depends on where you are in the building.
if we
So
were to
I
do,
think-
if we were to do the other side, if we were to
Yeah,
leave the
the-
existing annex the way it is and,
and to put the addition where we were planning it before, is what you're
but
saying.
at the level of
At the
Ritter's,
yeah.
we're losing that
Um,
stupid ramp.
I don't think there's a feasible way to do that. You'd have to overcome 7 feet of, like 6 or 7 feet of existing grade. I'm just gonna tell you what it is. So,
Is it
sorry,
7
I'm an
feet?
elevation. Yeah, the elevation on it's really on the School Street side. The elevation of the grade there is roughly 575, elevation 575. So it isn't 7 feet. But it's 574.8. And the threshold elevation, so the first floor elevation, well, the second floor elevation, the top floor of the Ritter is at elevation 580.6. So it's almost 6 feet. So
There's
you'd
is
have
it-
a lot of grade, and then it gets actually lower as you get down to School Street. So when you put there's a lot of grade you'd have to overcome to only make that on that first level. You know what I'm saying? And then you also don't have the ability, like you have on the other side of the street, Lancaster Ave is quite a bit lower. It's probably, I venture to guess, a couple feet lower than the basement elevation of Ritter. So you would have an opportunity to come in, to regrade that parking lot and come in at the basement level with your front entry. door, ADA, right in. And then to Tony's point, you could put your elevator in there and go up to whatever. Maybe you did a half, it depends on the architecture. Maybe you wouldn't do a full basement all the way and you'd keep some of it at grade so you could do a multi-stop elevator. I don't know. That would just, but
That's what I was thinking you would do, Greg.
certainly possible. It's certainly possible.
And
I see what Tony is saying for sure. I think it, we wouldn't be able to put all the parking over there. We'd have to have parking off of School Street on the School Street side and another way in for folks that, from that, employee entrance or something. But,
Ideally, there's one entrance.
but we
What-
could have
well, there'll be more
more.
than one entrance.
Sorry.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Oh,
We,
Sorry.
no,
One
We
main
could have-
public entrance is
Yeah,
ideal.
I understand what you're saying, Laura.
we could have more parking than there is now, though. I mean, Ritter has 7 parking spots in that front area. And there's no reason it has to only be 7 there. The parking lot could be bigger. And I mean, some of that parking lot layout is just limited right now by the by the current entrance. And
true.
we could, I think, minimum work in 3 more spaces without notably increasing the size of that parking lot, except in the areas where it's like now a little stone wall, the retaining wall for the dirt and everything. And
That's probably true.
if we made that parking lot even bigger heading towards Mass Ave, we could probably work in more. It wouldn't be all the parking for the building, but we could have a real
But-
amount there.
It would be public, it could be public parking though, like the employees would have a different entrance. And that's
Mhm.
honestly ideal as well, if employees have their own private way to come and go and sneak out away from the public. And they can park in the back where it's a little more private, and I don't know,
Hey, Greg, I got a
It's
question
worth-
for you. Grade
Yep.
wise, so looking at what's
Mhm.
on the screen right now, the whole new addition.
Mhm.
What if we
Yeah.
lowered that thing and had almost like a basement retaining wall around the thing and just sink that whole building?
Then you definitely have a drainage problem. Because the grades, Chris, you don't have any place to wash that out. You'd literally be creating a well.
Yeah,
And
we'd
yes,
have to.
we could resolve it with pipes to catch the grade on School Street by where the old
Yeah.
primary school was. But you're relying that, I don't like it because you'd be relying on pipes and those
Yeah.
things have a tendency to clog and
And
without a
it's-
big earthwork effort, you'd really have an issue, I think.
Tony.
It's the wrong side because of how high it is in relationship to Mass Avenue. We're trying to bring, people in at grade off of Mass Avenue, and it's the wrong spot to do that with this weirdly configured building that we have. And we would just duplicate the same split level if we built the annex on the School Avenue side of the building. Dave, I think there's 2 big issues here. One is this whole notion of how do you minimize having multiple elevators / chairlifts, given the split level design that we've been stuck with. So I think that we ought to try and figure out, Greg, how do you have your elevations? Are those something you can electronically share?
Yeah, I could. Yeah.
But I think
You want me to-
it would be good if we had like a little focus group, and maybe I don't know whether the town would be willing to hire like an architect to do some conceptual work with which side to do our access and where to put our elevators. And I think that's the dilemma. We want to have an elevator so that people can go Ritter to upper level Ritter and a street level, a Mass Avenue street level. And that would be the design challenge that we would give the architect to say, where should this elevator be to satisfy a need to get to 3 different levels? And then the second thing is going back to Greg's comment about space utilization. When we were touring with Jennifer on Thursday, she was making all kinds of comments about where this person could be, where that person could be, how that person could be configured. And I was thinking, wow, I wish we had somebody here taking notes, you know, because,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah,
she's
we're
been
gonna have to
thinking
go
about
back
this.
and,
And one of the things that I was thinking of, she really needs to sit down and just kind of do a bubble diagram layout, nothing that's got walls and you know, and dimensions and space, but just to say, this person sits here and that person sits next to this person, that person sits next to that person. And ask her to do that so we could then have something for us to look at and figure out how to use these buildings.
Yeah.
Tony, can I ask a ridiculous question? What would it, has anyone ever raised a building like this? Like taken the actual old Ritter itself and raised it up?
Well, it's called Town Hall. Town Hall was
Yeah,
a
Town Hall,
one-story
yeah.
church.
No, I
Yeah.
meant take the actual physical building and bump it up 3 feet.
Yeah,
Is
they
that,
essentially did that with Town Hall. They put it on a foundation and they put a
Yeah.
first floor on it. Yeah.
but that building is built entirely different than Ritter, and I don't,
Yeah, it's not masonry and stuff. Yeah.
yeah, usually those aren't great at being moved.
It's
Yeah.
possible. The cost is gonna be the question.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just wondering
Anything's
because that would
possible.
that would fix a bunch of problems.
It sure is
I-
funny, huh? How it's set up so pretty, set up high like that. I mean, they would have made our life a lot easier if they just set it
They
about
would
3 or
have.
4 feet below.
I
Yeah,
know,
but
and it's the
Because the
reason
other
why
thing, oh, go ahead, Tony. Sorry.
it's the reason why the addition was built the way it was.
Yeah.
Because you could walk off of Mass
Concrete.
Avenue and you'd be right in the building.
Yeah.
And then you
And-
then you have split steps to go up and down versus having a lot of steps to go up and then a lot of steps to go down. That's the reason why the addition, but it wasn't done with any kind of ADA in mind.
No.
In 65, that didn't exist.
Well,
It-
I mean, it does. I mean, it's got the ramp that comes in from Mass Ave, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, but not from the. So the other thing, nothing for nothing. It sure would be nice to reutilize the old entrance too. You know, like it's just.
But then
I know it's probably not going to happen because of the way the elevations are, but it just would be nice if we're, you know, I don't know. It's just
why can't we
the way it was
grade
intended.
that?
you know, Greg, it was the one thing that Taylor and Burns did that I actually thought was decent. You know, they did a kind of a landscape replication of the
Yeah.
entryway. And that was
Yeah.
the only thing that they did. I thought, well, there's some good architecture.
I really liked that feature as well, the oversized steps that would be seating for the public and reminiscent of the stairs without fooling people
Redoing
into
it.
thinking they're stairs. I thought that was a really nice hallmark.
Could we
Um,
just could we put the elevator in the annex part and it could just go up to those different levels still? They could go to the basement, it could go to the first level, second level of the Ritter? If you put it close enough to the
mean-
stairs
That's
or
what
on the
the lift
back
is
of the
now.
stairs?
Is there
using
enough
the-
room there? Because that lift there is not a ton of connection between that building.
You mean using the elevations as they are today, Brian?
Yeah, like using
Yeah.
the elevation of the Ritter as it is now, put the elevator in the annex and maybe even add another set of stairs, but you'd have the elevator and you could put it in the back of the
Have
annex.
an elevator with 2 sets of doors.
I mean, while we think of that, I think it's worth noting that one, that would be a more expensive elevator. Two, I would encourage us to consider true accessibility. And if you are mobility limited, you're still looking at a scenario where you're going to be using an elevator more than would be necessary if we did put things on a level playing field, as it were.
So I guess the big question for me, guys, is how deep that foundation is in the annex. I got this picture. All right. Am I still sharing here?
Yep. Yeah, we
Yep.
can see.
You can see here. In here, it shows your Ritter level -5 feet below Ritter ground floor and 5 feet above. So that's 10-foot ceilings. Well, that's 10 feet. So you figure 9-foot ceilings, 9-foot ceilings in the lower level of Ritter. I don't want to use basement. I'm going to use lower level of Ritter and upper level of Ritter. To me, I have no issues, but the idea would be, is there a way, is that annex built that we could get rid of the stairs on Lancaster Ave? And that's a simple question.
It is.
Or get rid, or make the entrance on Mass Ave or something like that, and use that whole side for being more of parking and things like that. But is there a way of making the annex the same level as the Ritter?
Well, if you redid it, but I think that going into the mid floor on the Ritter, I think that's a slab,
The real problem is
right?
Mass Avenue, we're trying to get an entryway at the same level as Mass Avenue. And the
Right.
old
That's what we
Ritter
did
was
before.
built to split that elevation.
Right.
That doesn't
Yeah,
go away, no matter where you put the annex, on School Street
Yeah.
or on Lancaster side. I think the Lancaster side's the easier place to do it.
So I'm fine with that. I'm fine with the
Yeah.
idea of an entrance on Lancaster. And, and things like that. But the feeling is that I'm okay, can we do this so that the annex, maybe it's just excavation with the annex and, redoing the foundation or something, but I don't know. It's a matter of me. I look at there's other issues with the annex personally, with the windows and things like that. But I don't really like the idea of 3 levels. And I think having the annex itself is all the room we need if there was 2 levels in the annex.
You
On the
can't have
same
the annex
footprint, on the same footprint as of the existing one?
Correct. If you go
Oh,
back to
close.
the original study by Tappe or whatever, they basically talked about needing the size of the annex to put the rest of the town hall employees in the Ritter.
I thought it was like 4,000 square feet or something.
No, it's not. It was not. No, that was for some.
The
I think that was
schools
for
and the,
something much. That was with the
nights.
meeting rooms and things. That's with extra meeting rooms and things like that.
Okay.
So, like I
Well-
say, I'm open for. I think it's open, and I'm really excited about the discussion we're having tonight because I think this is the nitty gritty stuff for us.
But Tony, I think
Oh,
you could
shit,
probably,
I gotta get a cord.
I think you could probably rip off the annex, the current annex, and just build a 2-story replacement, right?
You
Don't you
could,
think you could do that?
you could.
So that
And
it would address what Dave's saying,
Yeah,
Yeah,
the only
you-
reason,
you want-
the only reason why I say you could do that, and that would maybe make it easier, but I think it's more expensive than it needs to be, Greg. I think like looking at the screenshot that's before us, where the entryway is, if you got rid of from the entryway to the left on that shot, and
Mhm.
played around with the 3 levels that we're stuck with, knowing that the Mass Avenue level is where the current level for where the addition is. If you focused on that portion of the addition, I think you can get to lower level Ritter, to the intermediate level of Mass Avenue, also the addition level, and then to the second floor level of the Ritter. And I don't think you'd have to take, and one of the reasons why I would say we should look at, can we reuse that? There's 2 places you can go to get more square footage if you need it. You could close the wall, you could bring the wall that's on the addition that's closest to the School Street side, and bring that over to the real corner of the Ritter
Of
building.
Ritter. Yeah, I see what you're saying.
And then now you've got
A rough
square
night. for this.
footage at the Mass Avenue level. Yeah.
You broke up, Tony. You froze a little.
Okay, so Dave, can you bring me a front picture of Ritter?
This is the east elevation.
Yeah.
Isn't this Mass Ave?
No, no.
I don't know what that is.
I don't even know
No.
what that is.
Wait, north.
East television.
Yeah, that's Lancaster Ave.
No.
Hmm.
I'm not sure what that is either.
I don't know what that is.
Give me the.
Oh, that's the entrance. That's the entryway.
Okay,
That's the entryway, that vestibule thing they were gonna build.
But
Oh, wait.
I think there's ways to do, I think, once again, this is complicated. And I don't want to say that we can solve this on a Zoom call. Okay, so this is the back. I want to see the front, if you can bring the front up, Dave. Okay, there's the front. All right, so see the big picture window on the 65 edition?
Yeah,
Yeah, that right there. See the wall line and that window. You could bring over that wall, cover up that window, and get more square footage in the annex. In fact, what that might become is a hallway, that would allow you to then have full utilization for public uses on the ground level, on the Mass Avenue level of the 65 edition. And then if you needed more space, then you would just disassemble the roof and build a new roof with the roof line coming over to a wall that connects to the corner. Yeah, bring that up. You wouldn't have to bring it up much, because right now that ceiling height, in the addition, it's at least 12 feet.
This isn't the current.
this
This
is
is
the
it's
current.
existing.
It is. This is exactly, and in fact, that wall on the addition, there's actually an access door for people to get into that side of the building. If you look at a floor
There
plan,
is,
you'll
yeah.
see that there's a doorway into that, like where you're right where
That's
your
a-
arrow is, Dave. That's where the doorway.
That's the handicapped entrance.
That's ADA, that's
Yes.
the ADA.
Yeah,
Is
and
it
that's
really?
the reason
Yes.
why is
Yeah.
because it's the same level as Mass Avenue.
Okay,
Well, and it's not
so-
even truly ADA, but it's
It's
the
not.
way they get it. Yeah.
Okay, so that's ground level.
Yeah. It
We-
is, yep.
That's
I can I hear all these discussions we're having. I see all this back and forth. I really question if Ritter is actually the correct choice for a new town hall. Like, I mean, the difficulty we're having in even conceiving of how reconstruction could make it work. I know there's an emotional attachment to Ritter, but would we be better served by pursuing either building or purchasing existing more modern commercial property, or building, not having it in town center and being able to build to suit or modify to suit in an easier way?
But then what do we do with the Ritter building?
Frankly, sell it. I mean,
No.
no, let's not say, if we're going to say no, it's okay. Okay to disagree, but let's have more to it. I mean, and when I say that, let me qualify a little. Sell it with the proper deed restrictions and preservation notes in place, so that it retains its historic, appropriate character or whatnot. We're outside my expertise there and correct terminology, but increase the amount of commercial land available downtown to so that there's enough businesses to kind of support a more vibrant downtown. Move town government offices out of one of our main commercial areas that we're trying to build up to somewhere else that could possibly better serve the community.
So
I
I'll tell
I
you,
hear
to
you.
me, the Ritter building has more historical context in Lunenburg than Town Hall. To me, Town Hall
Mhm.
was a building that the church didn't want. Lunenburg was so cheap at the time that they said, okay, we'll make it a town hall.
At
And
the
they made it a
time.
town hall. The Ritter was the first building built in this town, only building built in this town, that was like really showed some wanting to do something really nice. And I hate to see that go away.
Does it go
I-
away if it's privately owned? And I mean, it still remains an H.M. Francis building that is on the historic register, correct? So, I mean, it it's just not one we own. I'm not heck bent on the idea by any means, but I feel like we're really working hard to to put a circular peg into a square hole.
So the School Street property was for sale, the school on School Street. That was for sale for a long time. And we had no takers on that. And
Yeah,
925 Mass Ave, we've had no movement on. I cannot stand the thought of more vacant buildings in the center of town. It sends
Yeah.
an awful message. When I moved here, Ritter, it was in that in-between time when the library had moved and Ritter was a vacant, empty building. And it really sets the tone for the town. And having town government functions in the historical center of town at the top of Turkey Hill, where most people are passing through, where a lot of our traffic passes through at the center of town, I think symbolically is important that the government, our center of government, is visible and open to the public and not just a commercial building somewhere. It sets the New England small town feel, which that is important in community building. I also think politically, no one is going to go for a plan that leaves Ritter vacant or Town Hall vacant. I don't think that's ever going to fly. And I know that people who grew up here, I'm not one of them, but I know that people have very strong ties to this building because it was the beloved library for a long time. I just don't see it as being feasible for a number of reasons. And my gut feeling, which is why I very rudely, and I apologize, said no, is that it is an absolutely beautiful building and it is our job to be stewards of that building and take care of it. And that a business or a private owner, then we lose the control over the building and what happens to it. So
I agree with your earlier comment, Laura. I think we should pick the whole building up, move it further to Mass Ave and lower it.
have we
And
considered
then put an
moving
addition
Town
in the back
Hall?
of it.
Have we considered moving Town Hall to School Street? The actual building. We got to
Yeah.
get some guys with oxen because that's how they did it last time.
Yeah,
And they
it
just
just,
rolled it.
yeah.
I'm
It
not
totally,
joking.
it totally,
Have we-
no, I hear you. I hear you. It would be exceedingly expensive, I think, but I just,
It's
it's
not
just,
far.
my point is, it's at the wrong elevation and in the wrong place on the lot.
But I like where it is
Makes it
in the
challenging.
center of town. It really sets a
Absolutely.
mood for the town when you pull in and you see that beautiful building. And we've been really great about landscaping it and highlighting it.
I have to agree, and there's no disrespect to, our distinguished planning board, chair. But I really feel like we should do a historically sensitive, good job at restoring this building. I think that's what people in town are looking for us to, for the town, not us, but the town to do. And, I know there's challenges to the site, but, you see towns do renovations on old buildings that are on lots that are not ideal, and you got to get the right architect. You got to get but it's tough. It's challenging. We all have different ideas here, just on this committee, and then you multiply it times the town at large, and it does become hard to.
We're gonna
Right.
need to bring Michael Ray back in for the compromise means nobody's happy, everybody agrees part, because it's gonna be true in the
Well,
end. We're not gonna make everybody happy. We're probably not gonna make anyone happy.
I do want to be clear that if we can do that,
Yeah.
that's great. I'm a huge H.M. Francis fan. When we were buying houses, that was kind of, it didn't work out for us, but that was one of my goals when we were looking in Fitchburg at one point, was to get an H.M. Francis designed house.
How many are there?
More than a good number, not
The-
huge.
There is
And-
in downtown Fitchburg, there is actually a bunch of buildings, physical buildings
Mm-hmm.
that are, and there's like I know because it was part of the whole historical tax credit thing for New View communities. It was that architect did 470 Main Street in Fitchburg, and they were like, I was shocked. There was like 4 or 5 buildings still existing that he had done, and it was so that when I heard that name, that this guy is pretty active.
He was super prolific in the area, and his whatever you call an architecture studio did even more. Just there's a lot of the old houses in Fitchburg. Either you can tie, if you can't tie back to him directly, many are one step removed. No, if we can, that's wonderful. But I also know that we're talking about trying to be cost sensitive, and I am not convinced we're going to be able to do all of this and be truly accessible, which I think needs to be one of our primary goals. I want us to succeed, and I'm fine going down this path. I just am not convinced of the feasibility, and I would love to be. I said this often on topics. I'd love to be proven wrong.
I think,
Well, I think, go ahead, I'm sorry.
sorry, so if we found a different location that was cheaper, even if it was cheaper, I don't think it would pass. And we are ultimately, whatever the project is that we come up with needs to go by the voters. And I think that we're a pretty cost-aware town, in that we hate spending money on anything. But I really think that abandoning the center of town and abandoning our historical buildings, I don't think it would pass. I just,
I'm the only person advocating this right now, so I don't think we need to spend too much time convincing me, because
okay. Well, I appreciate out of the box thinking, because it's good to look at it differently.
you'll probably hear, I'll be realistic, you'll probably hear me beat this drum some more, but if I'm the only one who feels that way, I can beat the drum and people can say that's nice and Matt and move on. And that's how these committees work.
Unless we voted you chair, then you're in.
Well, then I would set the agenda, but I still don't have more than one vote on anything.
I mean,
I'm just
we
kidding. I'm just kidding.
We could still consider, there is the parcel on School Street that we have. There is a big flat empty space where a big school used to be, still in the center of town.
The issue I
Don't
saw,
like it.
guys, was that the cost of a new build was asinine. You know, I'm sorry, when you're talking about $500-600 a square foot for a new build, there's no way we can make a cost-effective new build.
Hey, sorry, one second.
I hate to say it. I mean, look, I would love it'd be great to have a new building, blah, blah, blah. But the fact of the matter is, that's what we ran into the problem with the annex. Well, I mean, was the cost per square foot of the annex was the cost of the annex was 4 times the cost of renovating Town Hall and Ritter type of thing. So I'm okay. I think I'm looking at the hour. I've loved this discussion tonight, guys. I think we've done great. It's been a great discussion. I'd like to continue to investigate this. Put your heads together. I can send you the report again, and take a look. Maybe there's a way. Think about the annex. Maybe Greg, pass on the elevation information. Let's think about the annex,
clean it up.
and let's see if there's a way of making it work. Maybe the idea is that the second floor of Ritter on the School Street side becomes the entrance. And you go down, well, I'm sorry, but you go down to go to certain town offices. You take an elevator down to the lower level for some certain town offices. I don't know. Or, that's our split level. It's 2 stories on that side and two different stories on the other side. I don't know, but I do like, Tony, I like the idea of the wall matching the roof lines, making this look like, my biggest problem with the annex is it looks like a separate building. It doesn't look like it was meant to be part of Ritter. And having the roof line be cohesive, having it look like it melts in, there's got to be a way. We got to be able to figure this out. And I don't think the cost would be that staggering on this whole thing. I just don't, I like to try to avoid having 3 levels at whatever cost, at whatever we do. If we can. And I'm gonna leave it at that, on that.
And I just think we need to know what the square footage is. We need to know what our total square footage is, because
Okay, so
that's gonna
let me go
inform our
back.
decision.
When I'm sitting around, enjoying an adult beverage in the backyard, I will go through the square footage things that were given to us
Yeah,
and look and kind of try to put together some kind of something for you guys to look at for our next meeting.
I think
Okay.
a lot of those square footage things were wants and not needs, though, just to,
Or
I agree with that.
I agree with you, but what it is it's just basically
Sorry.
what they're living with today, what they have today, and as we look at things. And once again, if we're grouping people together and there's no walls, that square footage it becomes a different number.
In
Absolutely.
speaking,
Right? Because it's more square footage looks lousy when you have a wall.
Hmm.
If there's no wall, it looks like an open area. And right? Isn't that why every office does cubicles? To make you feel like you have something.
in
Dave,
speaking with the town manager during the tour, during the building walkthroughs, she seemed to have a different vision of how much bullpen there would be than we may have discussed on this committee. I might be misunderstanding our discussion here, but a lot of the town offices can operate on some smaller sub bullpens, but we can't have, at least according to her, it wouldn't necessarily work to have many of the offices in a collective bullpen. Land use could certainly bullpen it up much more than it is now.
it
But
seems
I
like
think
that
clusters.
was one of the things that like she had a lot of ideas about how to organize the space. And Dave, what I prefer or ask that we do is maybe between Chris Roth and Jennifer, that they do this like bubble drawing, not necessarily put dimensions to it, but just to say this is where the head of the Board of Assessors sits. This is where the treasurer sits, and then just kind of link where the people are, and then the linkage between the different departments. And it doesn't have to be an architectural drawing, but I think that we really need to see that, because then we would have the bodies and the seats that we got to find the space for.
I got
I
the
keep
time
going back to
for
what
it.
the
If you want me to meet with the town manager and kind of come up with, I get what you're saying. That was what I was thinking too, like pieces of paper that some of them are linked and you can move them around to
yeah,
just visually see roughly how much space, on a scale of 1 to 3,
Yeah.
and who needs offices and who needs to stick together and who needs to be. I think I have time to do that.
is Chris still on the line? Because he did that for a living, I believe, and
Did he?
yeah, when he was
I'm still in
working
line.
yeah, Chris, I think you'd be really, I think you could be a big help to Jennifer in order to do that layout.
Yeah, I can try and get some time with Jen and see what we can come up with, because it's, land use is easy. They kind of stick together. It's some of the accounting functions shouldn't be the way they are now. I know they wanted assessors separate. Accounting can be very different than the tax collector, because it's, accounting is, it's really what's public facing and what's not. And even
Right.
if we end up with multiple levels, an office like mine, besides the people on this call right now, no one just walks into my office. You know what I mean?
Right.
So there's quite a few offices. IT could be hidden in the basement. You can take all the stuff that's not public facing and put it in the more difficult areas to get to. If the goal is to save Ritter, it's going to be tough.
Okay. Yeah, because I think we should go through and get that list of, I have some notes on it, but I want to make sure it's correct and run through offices and who's with who, and who should be with who, and who could be with who. Because the tour was a lot of useful information about that.
The other
Mr.
thing I
Chair,
think, the other thing I think we need to do is to reaffirm that we still want one building for the town functions. Is that still,
Yes.
I think
because
we
that
heard
was
that
a,
from
that
Jim.
was, well, she liked that, but she also mentioned, well, you could have somebody over at the fire station and police station, because they kind of do work together on a lot of things. So the question is, for the cost, if we didn't need to add a lot of square footage and we could reutilize the current town hall for certain things, that could drive our costs down. So, I mean, there's a want and a need. Is it a want or is it a need? And we just need to double check on that, because, we had to have the school department with town functions before, and now that goes away. So just double check and triple check, because it would be a lot easier if we could utilize some of the current town hall as office and space for the town functions, because they're there. And it would be nice because the building, we're putting lots of money into that building. We'd like it to have more value to the town. So, but if that's a want, I would probably, that's a need, then okay, then we're going to be stuck just because of the financials of having a building with 3 levels. Because I can't see. I mean, we could if you wanted to dig down, but then that's going to cost a lot of money. You're going to have all sorts of issues. So I think, with our goal of trying to keep costs down, we're going to have to, kind of pick the devil we want.
I agree, appreciate it. I think we've made a lot, listen, I think we've made a lot of progress in a very short period of time. I mean, this is not easy to do. And I don't think we're that far off. I think we're pretty close. And there's some fine tuning that needs to go on, but we're not as far off as I think we're not as far off as we were a month ago of having something, of coming up with something. And I think there's a good way of doing this.
By definition, we're a month closer.
Yes. Yes. All right. So I'm gonna basically now say, hold off on this conversation. Chris, if you can just talk to, get with the town manager and kind of just do a little, whatever you want to do, that'd be helpful. We'll take a look at it. I'll take a look at what was on there and different sheets and things like that. We'll send you guys some information to ponder. So I'm gonna ask right now if there's any comments from the public. But I don't see any public on there. Any public comments from the group? I'm hearing none. Can we talk about what we would like? Do you want to try to have a meeting in 2 weeks? That would be the 17th.
That's the day before the town meeting, I think, right? Or
Ugh.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah,
Town
they
meeting is the
should-
18th.
Yeah.
yeah, the following Monday, though, is Thanksgiving week.
Right. I mean, if we don't do the 17th, we're in December, right? Because we're not going to do it for Thanksgiving week. There's no way.
Right.
I can do Thanksgiving week if you wanted to do the 24th.
That's I can't attend that then. It's a
Oh, that's a
planning board
planning
meeting.
board one. Okay.
Planning board will be meeting on a different day than usual in December, most likely. We're still squaring that away. Just as a general FYI, if we continue with Mondays, I will personally have different availability, but I'm only one committee member.
So I mean, are you okay with the 17th? We can even call it a shorter meeting. We'll call it a shorter meeting. We'll start at 5:30. We'll start at 5:30. We'll go for as long as it might not have to be that long. I think this one, I really was excited. This was some great conversation, great back and forth. I think we really started to move a lot forward today, and that's really the key. I think this group is a good group with with everybody honoring each other's opinions, so I like it. And I think we'll do very well in the near future. So, okay with the 17th?
Yes.
Fine,
Mhm.
fine with me.
All right, fine. I'm gonna go for the 17th. Sometimes maybe the other committee members will join and things like that, the ones we missed today. That's fine. Hey, I'm gonna entertain a motion.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All right, gonna go around. I'll go, Chris, what do you say? Up, I'm gonna take that as a yes. Matt?
Aye.
All right, Laura?
Yes.
Tom?
Yes.
Tony?
Aye.
Greg?
Aye.
All right, and that's an aye from me. So I'm gonna say that was we have a quorum and all that stuff, and I'm gonna say enjoy your evening. We'll talk to you all the 17th. Thanks again for all your help. Appreciate
Good
everything.
night. Thank you, Dave.
You're
See you later,
welcome.
everybody.
Have a good night, everybody.